Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I want to talk about the potential drain nerfs that might be coming to Wizard101. Now if you guys are in the test realm, official Wizard101 Discord now, they abandoned it. Basically there's a lot of talk in the PvP chat about drains, minions coming back, all that kind of stuff where, you know, Rapbeard, Artie, everybody is there, and we're just basically talking about, you know, the balancing of the game, systems, and stuff like that. So a lot of things have been centered around drains with 170, because Wraith spam is actually back in the meta, and that's like makes death top tier. Now I'm going to be presenting some numbers in this video directly from the developers themselves, and obviously the Discord. So let's start off with drains in general. So Death has a damage per pip of, I think, 85. But when they actually drain, like Dr. Vaughn, Wraith, Scarecrow, or go for a Gambit, that value gets bumped up to around 113, which actually is between Storm and Fire, which is why in a lot of the cases right now, between like all the offensive schools, Death is kind of the one that can just pretty much beat anybody in terms of trades if you play a good Death player right now in the meta. So one of the propositions I think was from Artie, actually, who is a designer of the game. He's a pretty cool guy, and he actually threw out the idea of them nerfing the accuracy of drains. Now I personally think this is honestly not a terrible idea, and I'm going to explain why right away here. I know some people might be a bit flustered, and I'll talk about counterpoints later on in the video. But I think this is a good idea, because with how they designed the game, the higher the damage per pip, like Storm, like Fire, there's always a big accuracy burden in like 35, 30, you know, 35%, 30, 25, right? But on Death, you just always need like, what, 15% for a Wraith or 20% on a Shad, which is pretty cheap, right? Considering it's 113 damage per pip, which is again 13 higher than Fire, but you have the tankability of a Death, which is absolutely incredible, with, you know, way more health and 70 resist that Storm and Fire don't get, right? So in my opinion, if they were to increase the accuracy even up to something like 35 on Storm, that would be a big nerf to drains, and that would really change the gear setup of Death, because we might see Death Wizards running, you know, Sniper, or give up a health socket right here on their Athame for accuracy, which indirectly makes their stats worse and the drains worse, right? So maybe seeing something like that happen in the meta would be a good way to indirectly nerf Death. And I think something does need to be done about drains in general, because if we look back at 4th Age, when Solar Surge, at the end of 4th Age, when Solar Surge was there, everybody spammed Solar Surge Wraith, and that was like the meta, and everybody cried and complained about it back then. And what do you know? History has repeated itself, and Death finds itself back up top on the meta again with Wraith. I don't think simply banning Wraith treasure card is going to do anything, because main deck Wraith is only like, what, 555, and this is 95% accuracy, by the way, top path. So it's pretty freaking good in the main deck as well, I would argue. So banning TC doesn't do much. However, it could do something, because if you look at cards or schools like Storm, or Myth even, not really Myth, I guess, but Storm, they banned that school's all of their library except for 4 pips, essentially, right? So what that allows Storm to do is basically not be as much of a threat and deck fill more often. So maybe if they just did ban drains inside and the Wraith inside, that would be less of a threat like Storm, and deck fill more often like a Storm. Therefore could have more accountability like a Storm, you know? So I guess, yeah, you could make the argument they could ban it, and, you know, that would be alright. I think I'm more of the opinion they should nerf the accuracy. Now, you might be like, Liam, I think this is a horrible idea. I'm a PvE player. I think nerfing the accuracy is going to ruin the game for me. A bunch of, you know, casual players questing through the game, because this would affect a popular card like Scarecrow, right? If Scarecrow goes down to 65% accuracy, which is what Storm has to be. It's just like 35%, right? This is going to affect a lot of things, right? So right now, for example, with my PvE death set, I think I sit around like 23% accuracy, right? So I do have ways to get up to like 35% if I wanted to in PvE, but obviously I'm a max level wizard. That shouldn't be that difficult. I will have to be giving up some stats for that, obviously on a death, but I could do it. But I'm more concerned about the people that are not max level that this might affect, right? What is Exalted gonna look like? What is Grandmaster and Legendary gonna look like? What are the people stuck in, like, I don't know, freaking Mushu, Dragonspire, Celestia? What is their questing experience gonna look like, you know? They might even have to use, like, enchant, pierce enchant, accuracy enchant cards to power their drain now, and not damage enchants, you know? Now, like I said, this wasn't really confirmed. This is an idea already tossed out there, because he said when they talked about like reevaluating drains or whatever, the community just wasn't really interested in hearing them out. So they think they're gonna go a different route. And like I said, in my opinion, I think this probably is one of the better ways to tackle it, because like I said, yes, it is a nerf to drains, but it also indirectly makes death worse, right? They have to give up more to get that accuracy, right? Which, like I said, indirectly in general makes death worse in stats. So I think that would be really, really cool. I think 35 might be a bit steep, you know? I think maybe going between Storm and Fire at like 30, I think would be a reasonable compromise in my opinion, because I know Storm's like the worst school right now at max level, but still just having a school have to pay 35% accuracy is a little bit silly in my opinion. I think that should probably be at 30, because it is above Fire, 113, the drains, right? So I think sitting upwards of a Fire Shad, which is 30, and then a base Storm spell, which is 30, for a drain, because they're in between Fire and Storm. I think that's the best place they could go for the accuracy. Again, I think 35 is a little too steep, in my opinion. So I would recommend the devs just to go with 30, and personally, I like this change. But what do you guys think about this in the comments below? Do you think it's a good change? Do you think it's a bad change? I wanted to talk about PvE because I know, you know, a lot of people might be very sensitive to this, because the PvE audience is obviously the majority of the game and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't PvP, but a change like this essentially would just be made for PvP, right? And then there's a lot of death players in general in the game, and obviously a lot of PvE players in general in the game. So I'm a bit worried if they mess this up, it might do more harm than good, in my opinion. But we'll have to see what happens, guys. And I don't know. If somebody has a better counterpoint for the accuracy, let me know down there in the comments below, because something has to be done about drains. Because like I said right now, you know, essentially if you're hitting with 113 damage per pip while having 20 more resist and like thousands more health and better cards, like you really have no reason to play a Storm or a Fire. Death is just a better offensive school, right? And I read so many dumb comments in that Discord. I'm gonna make a whole video about that as well, guys, don't worry. But bro, I've seen comments like, oh, well, just don't let Death drain, no XD. Okay, but with that logic, don't let Storm hit you, but people let Storms hit them, and they don't have to worry about a Storm because their stats are so bad. It's different with Death, because their stats are godsend, and like they're the best stats in the game, arguably, but they also get that super high damage per pip in between Storm and Fire. So you can't compare a school that is like dog water and unusable to a school that's like top tier, similar DPP, and way thousands more health, and obviously way more resist, like 20% upwards more resist. So I think that comparison is extremely, extremely unfair and unwarranted, right? Because with that logic, you should be afraid of a Storm taking open hits on you, but people aren't right now in the meta. So that logic and reasoning is just flawed and simply does not work here if you actually look at PvP. But yeah, that's really all I want to say for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and a sub if you made it this far, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching and being here. Take care.